Welcome to another After Hours Screen Talk. I'm Dan. With me, as always, is my brother Jesse. For this Halloween season, we've chosen one of our favorite cult films. Tales from the Crypt presents Demon Knight, one of the feature-length films based on that TV show. I have fond memories of watching it back in the day with our dad. He enjoyed it a lot too, and my dad was not a big horror fan and certainly didn't like sleazy B horror films. So the fact that he enjoyed this one should tell you that there's more here than meets the eye.
This came out in 1995, and I believe, unless I remember incorrectly, that we were there on opening weekend with our dad watching this in the theaters
Hmm.
in 1995.
Right. Billy Zane plays the Collector. He's a demonic emissary who is seeking out one of seven mystical keys that were created around the same time as God created the universe and everything in it. So the keys have been scattered throughout the world, or actually even I think out through the universe, but one of them is at least is on Earth. And that key is in the possession of this mysterious drifter, Frank Breaker, played by William Sadler. So this film is a sleazy, violent B horror movie. It totally delivers on that level. But the cast, including people like William Sadler, enriched the material and lend it a depth that it wouldn't otherwise have. But anyway, he's being pursued by Billy Zane's Collector and ends up at this old derelict church that's now been converted into some kind of a flop house, a hotel where these down and out characters are residing. This is where we meet our cast of players. Uncle Willie, played by the one and only Dick Miller. Fans of Roger Corman's cinema know him well. If you enjoy the Gremlin films or Joe Dante's films, you know Dick Miller. He's just one of those consistently entertaining and interesting character actors. Taking on lead duties along with William Sadler is Jada Pinkett in, for my money, her best performance and her best movie. She plays Jeryline, this juvenile delinquent under the care of the hotel's owner. Talk about a great cast. The hotel owner is played by CCH Pounder, pretty much now a television legend. She's been working for decades. Kind of similar to Dick Miller and William Sadler in that anytime they're in a movie, anytime they're in any kind of project, they enrich it, right? I mean, they make it better than it is, and you always remember them. Filling out the cast is Thomas Haden Church as Roach. He plays the reliable, fractious inner circle bad guy, the one who kind of betrays people and is really only out for himself.
My nipples are
Uh,
smoking.
my nipples are smoking. We'll get to that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, you have the legend himself, Gary Farmer, a legend in independent cinema, a legend in First Nations Native American independent film. He plays a deputy, and he's great in it. On top of that, you've got Brenda Backey, who's less well known, but done some great work in films like Hot Shots Part 2. She plays Cordelia, a hooker who lives on site there. And then you've got, who am I missing? Who am I missing, right? Oh,
Oh,
Billy Zane is the collector.
oh yeah.
Right? Billy Zane. Yeah, Billy Zane steals every scene that he's in. He's cool, he's sexy, he's charismatic. I totally buy him as this smart talking demonic entity that's trying to like take this key from Breaker. What happens? They all get trapped in this flophouse by the collector who summons a bunch of really freaky looking demons who surround the place. And it's only because of Breaker's key that they're not immediately able to get in there and kill everyone. So Breaker's key has red liquid in it, which is later revealed to be blood. And he can drip the blood on the doorways and the windowsills and create these magical seals that prevent the demons from entering.
Yeah. The blood has
So
been
we have to,
yeah, the blood has been sanctified, right? So by the
right, yeah,
blood of Christ.
originally, right,
Yeah.
yeah. So like this is the other really great thing about the film is we later learn that there's this invented mythology, this invented mythological storyline that provides a kind of deep background for the events of the story. So Breaker is one of many carriers of the key throughout history, right? Stretching back into antiquity. He's inherited this task of running with the key and preventing the, demonic agents from possessing it, since he first came into possession of the ring, or the ring, that's a Tolkien slip, of the key. He came into possession of the key during World War One when he was a soldier, so he's far older than he looks. And these agents are immortal for as long as they possess the key. The key possesses sanctified blood, originally Christ's blood, but then the blood of each ensuing carrier of the key, who is sanctified through this holy crusade that they're carrying on. And that blood is then used to seal portals and create borders that demons can't go beyond.
Hence the name,
And that becomes, yeah,
yeah.
go
Hence
ahead.
the name, well, that's where the title comes from, Demon Knight. Oh, and knight is
Mm.
spelled like as a knight, a warrior,
Oh,
K-N-I.
Demon Knight.
We're,
Yes.
we're
So
refer-
it's not
referring to William Sadler's character, but it's also a wordplay on Demon Knight because it takes place during the night, right? So,
right, right. Yeah. And I also wonder if the Demon Knight is like kind of like a double reference to Billy Zane and William Sadler because the collector and Frank Breaker are really kind of like dual identities, right? They kind of complete each other in this weird way.
Billy Zane mentioned that he was inspired by Robin Williams' Genie in Aladdin, and
Interesting.
so he plays a similar kind of not.
What if the genie were evil? That's
Y-
fascinating.
Yeah, yeah, that's what he
Yeah.
said. Like, I wanted to do my version of Aladdin's genie, but make him the genie from hell. He offers you your heart's desire, whatever fantasy. In the movie, I'm like, I could see how I might get swept up in the spell here and fall into his trap, you know?
Well, and I think that that's where the emotional center of the film really comes through, is that he plays on each of the characters' weaknesses, their emotional weaknesses, their frailties, and that's how he's eventually able to possess them. So, Dick Miller's character, Uncle Willie, his name is Uncle Willie, by the way. So this film like ties into
Yeah,
the camp, right? The double entendres. He's an alcoholic. He wants to have fun, and the collector plays on that weakness. They become these very kind of like unexpectedly moving moments where these characters are revealed as just these vulnerable human characters.
yeah.
It's a wake up call too. You realize how evil this character is that he's doing this, playing on these weaknesses and possessing these people. These characters, even though most of them are ticketed for destruction by the end of the film, they're not just throwaway characters, and they don't behave in stupid, contemptible ways unless of course they're designed to. And this brings me to another pleasure point in the film, one of many, Thomas Hayden Church as Roach.
Yes.
Yeah, so he's the classic kind of like in a siege film, in the Night of the Living Dead, in Aliens, you need characters that are like the enemy within, right? They're these selfish, self-serving characters who are going to like make bad choices because eventually they're just trying to get out of it. They don't care what happens to anybody else. And that Roach is that character, and Thomas Hayden Church plays him to the hilt. He's so sleazy and so despicable, but comically so, to the point where I actually almost kind of like him. Partly because Church is so likable, but also because the character is just so unapologetically out for himself. There's something kind of relatable about him, but he's very funny in the film. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
frequent source of comic relief, but also a classic character for horror films where he just willfully acts stupidly. He does
Yeah.
stupid things, and you're like shouting, "This is the stupidest thing that I've ever seen, you dummy!" But it's intentional. It's ironic in this film because he's supposed to be the bad guy, the one that screws things up and ruins it for everybody else.
I mean, he goes there to meet up with Cordelia. Then they engage in this sadomasochistic play to the point where he has electrical wires connected to his nipples and she's zapping him because he gets off on that. And so
Hmm.
immediately, this is a character who's making bad choices and to the point where they're kind of endangering himself.
Well,
Like,
and just kind of like rubbing everyone the wrong way. Like
yeah.
his dynamic with the group is hilarious. They're just constantly like, "Why are you here, Roach? Why haven't we killed you yet?" It's like,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
why? Because we're good people. Otherwise, we would just throw you out the window and let the demons have you. So one of the things I also wanted to mention about this film that I think is really interesting is that Ernest Dickerson, the director, he was Spike Lee's cinematographer for films like Do the Right Thing, Malcolm X, Mo Better Blues. Since then, he's directed his own films. He's done a ton of television. But a really interesting director in his own right, and somebody who I think definitely brings something to this film as a black director, because I think there is something working there in terms of how we end up with Jeryline, this young black female character, becomes the hero of the story. She becomes the heir apparent to Frank Breaker and becomes the new carrier of the key.
Dickerson took a lot of pride in having the first black female action hero to save the world in that kind of horror scenario.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be easy to take for granted nowadays, in the 2020s. We're looking at it's much more common to have people of color as, at the center of these kinds of heroic narratives, right? But you kind of have to remember, like in the mid 90s, the only time you really saw that was when you had like usually independent films made by black directors, by Native American directors. It was rare to have a semi-mainstream production with a heroic central character. There were exceptions, obviously. You had Denzel doing his thing, right? Denzel was blowing up in the 90s.
And of course,
Um,
Wesley Snipes' Blade, which came a couple years later, and that just changed the game. So,
right.
yeah,
Yeah, no, another film you could really point to is, I think, being I think Blade gets a lot more credit than this film does, though. Like, this film is under the radar. I think people realize now what an influential film Blade was, not only for heroic black character in an action film, but also the way it really kind of was the first Marvel Cinematic Universe film, right? I mean, it
right?
really is the first
Yeah,
really successful Marvel film. So, anywho, but that said, we're talking about Demon Knight. It's such a great finale too. The climax, the showdown between her and the Collector. That character behaves in such a cunning and intelligent way to finally defeat this seemingly insurmountable demonic foe, right?
yeah,
And the way she's able to make that happen, but also the drama of it, right? And the way that Billy Zane throughout that scene is still playing with the comedy and with the charisma, bringing the riz on her, like literally trying to like seduce her at this point, right? And just the dynamic between them, the chemistry is insane. It's insanely good. And
yeah.
then the finale, well, I won't spoil the finale on the off chance. If you haven't seen the film, you may watch it and think, what are these two blokes talking about? Like, this is just like, throwaway trash. Fair
Yeah.
enough. Uh, but boy, man, I wanted more of this when it was over. This film, dare I say it, almost reminds me of a film like Princess Bride that just moves effortlessly between, kind of campy, sleazy, generic elements and comic pieces, but then also all of a sudden putting you in this really kind of like emotionally deep space with these believable, relatable characters.
One other thing I
Hmm.
want to mention is the special effects. They were
Mm,
all done, I believe, by Todd Masters, and they
mm.
really brought back practical effects here for this movie in the mid '90s when everything was really transitioning towards digital and CGI. But they go hard with the practical effects, with prosthetics, animatronics. The demons themselves, those full body demon suits, are great, and with the glowing eyes and very effective. So hats off to the gore effects and special effects in this movie.
Really freaky looking creatures, right? And I think it's a test that you talk about practical effects. It's a testament to what you can do with a modest budget and a little creativity. It's like they hired these incredibly skinny contortionists, dancers, kind of like performance artist types, and they were able to like put so much expressiveness into the way that they were just moving, these kind of like slinky, sidling, almost snake-like movements. And then of course you add the prosthetics, you add those glowing eyes. It's fantastic. They look great, and I think they're consistently scary when they show up.
Yeah,
Um, and yeah, no, it's like hats off to just doing more with less. Because at a certain point, right, when this film was finally going to get made, and it went through several stages of development, as so many films do, they were like, "Oh, I guess we do need some demons in here." So it was sort of like almost an afterthought. We'll give you a little bit more of a budget, not too much. This is what you've got to work with, and they worked with it. They made it work.
they did.
It's the oldest story in films, right? You do more with less.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I also love like the little frame prelude and epilogue with the Crypt Keeper,
Mm,
So
lots of fun. Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. So how many stars would you give this one?
Oh, this is flat. I mean, there's nothing holds me back from a solid five out of 5 stars. I mean, what am I
Yeah.
gonna, life's too short for me to front and like hold back the star because this isn't an art house film. It doesn't make my top 10. No, it doesn't make my top 10, but it's still a solid 5-star film.
Yeah.
It's funny, it's moving, it's exciting, it's thrilling, it's full of great actors and great acting. It's got great atmosphere, a smart director who makes the most of what he has, and a film that I just literally never get tired of. I could put it on right now, watch it right now, and enjoy myself thoroughly with
Yeah.
a bag of popcorn and a pop. You know, that's what the movies are made of, right? I mean,
Right.
this is it, folks.
Yeah. Yeah. 5 stars for me too. I mean, this is subjective in one respect. All reviews are subjective. We watched this movie in our teenage years,
Mm.
we don't have that objective distance in a way, but I can't pretend to be completely objective about a movie like this that I love so much. So this one gets 5 stars for me as well. Is this also a great Halloween watch too? I mean, for those of our viewers who haven't checked this one out, I would encourage you to do so.
The film is lightning in a bottle, right? A bunch of great people came together and made this modest little film, which is
Yeah.
far better than I think still anyone gives it credit for.
All right. So those are our thoughts on Demon Knight. Happy Halloween. Dan, any last final thoughts?
Fasten your drool cups and hold on to your vomit bags and go watch this one, kiddos.
Yeah, yeah. Don't forget to like and subscribe and drop a comment, and we'll see you next time for more reviews.